Okay guys, class number 29, our fundamentals program. We're gonna be going over some cool stuff today. Wrist locks, always a huge fan of wrist locks. Back when I was competing in the colored belts, I have 4 submission victories in competition with wrist locks, right? Now, we're gonna be doing them standing, but I will say like most of the formal training I've had on wrist locks has been standing hand techniques, right? I've had a ton of work with that over the years. And obviously I've done wrist locks on the ground and drilled them and taught them and trained them this whole time as well, but these are gonna be sort of, the self-defense techniques of the day. And it's gonna be based off the same things that we've been working on in recent classes, defenses against grabs, pushes, and things of that, those natures from the front, okay? So that's what we're getting into. And then we talked about escaping high mount last time, right? So now we're getting into escaping technical mount. Next couple of classes, we're gonna see arm bars again, right? Then we get into guard and there'll be arm bars for guard, but we're gonna be arm bars for mount. So we're gonna round out just and review a couple of the arm bar escapes at the end of class, and we'll add in a couple of new arm bar escapes, okay? So we went over 2 last time, we're gonna add 2 this time, so we'll talk about all 4. All right, well, let's get to it. We're gonna get started with some hip escapes to get warmed up. All right, let's, here, head facing this way, backward hip escape, and the focus is when you hip escape, and kind of point this, that exactly is the focus. How did you know? Okay, keep going. Nice, good. Drive that knee. See, they can't put their leg under your leg and put you in like the low mount or grapevines as long as you have that knee down like that. Very good. Good. Coming back, same thing, and then we'll do a step forward. Good. Now, stay down there, just from also the supine position. That's fancy talk for laying down, right? You're gonna do the forward hip escape. And see, did you hear that? Your hip just slid on the mat like that? I wanna hear it slide every time and come forward. So reach out with your feet. This is his forward hip escape. Go ahead, pull. Yes. So we're gonna be doing that on the techniques a lot today. A lot of what we're getting into will be this forward hip escape motion. And hip escapes are either forward or backwards. You're either gonna switch sides, side to side, or you're not, okay? Coming back, same thing. So the hip escape movement is one of the essential movements for the whole program, right? We need to be able to do them forward, backward, in that supine position, that laying down on our back. Very good. Now, let's do this. Get your head, like lay about right here with your head facing that way. Okay, so I'm gonna do mountain climbers on your hip, right? So guys, what we wanna do is we wanna be able to turn on our side, right? And when we turn on our side, we wanna be able to bear weight. So if he's here and here, he's got this inverted, right? See, I'm putting all my weight on his hip to try and push him down. And he's still able to sustain. Come to this side. Same thing here. And here's the thing, and I got a screenshot of it on my phone. We had Chris Burns in for a seminar, and Gracie Black Belt, friend of ours, and he had Edward, who's like 205 pounds or something at the time, and then also Joel, who's like 270 at the time or something, maybe even more, and get on each other's back, right? And still, they couldn't push him over. And Chris is like your size. Okay, so look, you need to be able to bear weight. You have to have a base on the ground. That was a good solid base. I can push you over. If that's not a base, what is it, right? Very good. Okay, so let's get into the self-defense techniques. Okay, wrist lock is gonna be like basically 2 main shapes. Oh, yeah, tell your things. Here or here, right? So look, my hand is gonna, like think about how people are grabbing. Maybe I'm pushing like this, or maybe I'm going to grab and I haven't grabbed yet. So it's kind of 2 ways to think about that. But then there's also, I'm grabbing, right? And my thumb is sort of up. So think about my palm is facing, or I'm more susceptible to my wrist folding inward like this. A lot of times you're gonna see this technique, and I'll refer to it today, when it bends like this, right, as a wrist fold, okay? And this is gonna be just our standard sort of wrist lock, right, with the palm open, okay? So let's go over these. If he's just pushing here, right, first thing I wanna do is cover, okay? When I cover, I'm bracing here, and a lot of times, the stress test on this is to be able to follow him back, because a lot of times when you grab somebody and they push you right here and you start finding base, he'll retract his arm, right? That's when I want to start bringing up his arm. So I had here, I start stepping in and bringing it up, and I'm going to hide my temple right there on his shoulder. I'm going to go 2-on-1 on his elbow right there. Now, look, it's not all pulling. It's not all pushing with my chest, and it's not all me leaning into him. It's all three of those things, okay? So when I cover here and I follow him in, and I go to this 2-on-1 on the elbow, I'm raising his elbow up slightly to get in line. I'm protecting my face by hiding my temple. I'm pressing forward so with my chest and my weight here, okay? Doesn't feel that good, does it? I mean, it feels terrible. Good job for, the technique though. So when somebody might just be doing something like that. Like he goes to push, maybe, just push again, right? And I saw the last time you pushed that hand, tried to go back after you pushed, you try to push again. And then we talk about, like, I gotta worry about that hand. So when you try and retract, I'm gonna go here, right? Boom. Right? I'm in my 4-point base here, right? My head is against his shoulder, leaning your weight forward, pulling his elbow up, and pulling his hand into my chest. Okay, so it's not just pulling inward, I'm raising that arm as well, okay? So, and guys, just look, have you seen this technique before?
The wrist lock? No.
This exact one, no, exactly. I've got to receive instruction on this from Henry Akins, actually, fortunately. He showed both of these. And Colby and I had gone to a seminar there, another one of the blue belts here. And he happened to show these. And they are a historical part of like the Gracie self-defense techniques, right? And you see them all throughout history since the beginning. They're doing these wrist locks, right? And then also, normal everyday stuff, like untrained people are gonna do stupid things like grab you by the shirt collar and push you, right? Because like what else they know how to do? They probably haven't boxed or done jiu-jitsu, or maybe a little bit, or wrestling. We talk about this all the time. But it's just then they know nothing. They're just, I see bread and their bodies hit the floor. I like to think about it that way too, right? And I'm like, yes, okay, I'll still respect that person because they can still cause harm to me. So you can't take it lightly, right? But when I'm here, I'm just gonna start here. I'm not gonna be rapidly pushing you. That's a stress test, right? So when I'm here, just slightly lean forward into it. Yes. Okay, now cover it. Reach across and cover it. Good, okay? Now, once you're here, just right now, like think about how you could better your connection. Yes, both hands. Both your shoulder and your hand. So it's 2, right? So I feel that, right? I felt your weight, and then you made it stronger by pushing in there and by pulling the shoulder forward. Now, both hands behind the elbow, right? And then step in. You can stay here for a second, right? Step in, boom, and then see, nice. You got that raised elbow alignment. Okay, now go to here, and you can look, see, pinch that elbow on the outside, but okay, now, a good base. Good. Now, okay. Yes. Look. Yeah. Oh, and it got worse when you did that. Look at it. You got kind of like this round spine idea. I can't rip your ear off or anything. That made it tighter. Okay. Let me feel a little more shoulder here. Forward. Oh, yes. Okay. Now, raise that elbow back up. That's it. See, it's like you're starting to feel like all the mechanics are here, here, and here. And it's all 3 at once. So you do 1 and 2, and then you're like, oh, that third one. I raised that elbow back up because I made adjustments. And then that's why we start, if you haven't seen this before, we start with the base here, right? got that elbow raised, here, right? Leaning forward, boom. Okay. Cover, connect, frame. Yes, see, that's, I can't get that back now. Step in.
And this elbow's down to start with?
This is good. You're good for right now, right? Boom. Nice. Now see how it's kind of up, now come under. Nice. Lean it. Oh, that just amplifies my fingers getting bent backwards. And push the shoulder forward. Yes. See, you're like, oh, I want to pull this in and almost push your shoulder back a little bit, but you got to meet in the middle, right? Again. Good. That's tight. Now, raise the elbow. Ah. Yes. See, it's like you had everything. The elbow is down. It's like, whoop. It's like barely anything, and now my okay, I'm done here. Exactly like you. I'm shaking my wrist after, like, man, it's terrible. All right. Cool. Now, the other one is the wrist fold. Okay. That again is if I can't get you here, I want to get you here. Okay, so that's this shape. We saw that on one of our standing arm locks recently. After we did the arm lock, we talked about how we could go here. In Japanese martial arts, that's all commonly referred to as kotegaeshi. In the context I just did it, Aikido calls that shianagi. Here. Right? So, and there's variations of those throws, but like those are some terms that you'll see. You don't have to know those. Wrist fold, wrist lock is the only term we're going to really call this, right? I just kind of add that for context. Maybe you want to do a little research, okay? But we also, here at our gym, we'll call this the number 2 wrist lock. And we call this one where the palm is facing the other way, the number 1 wrist lock. But they're either, the wrist is either this way when I'm doing the technique, which is what we're about to do, or like what we just did, it's this way. And there's variations of things you can do when it's palm facing open like that, okay? Here, he's grabbing and kind of pulling in a little bit. Yes. See, I'm already getting him, okay? So I've collapsed his wrist a little bit, and I'm gonna come here, right? And sort of the same idea when I go to step in, right? I'm hiding my temple here, and I'm pulling in, okay? So same thing, collapse. And again, I'm kind of collapsing for you if you think about it. Like here, this would be better with the other, right? Like there, like if you covered up right there, I'm gonna be stuck there, right? So that's gonna be the first technique we did. However, but like look at this. This is the sort of bully collar grab. Right, so see how that's gonna be it's not gonna be easy. I'm like all flexed up and everything, but that'll be easier to collapse because of the type of grip I have. But right here, boom, boom. Yes. See now, grab behind, good. I'm in here, and step in. Ah, yeah. Well, we're done here. Okay, totally, very nice. So. Go ahead and grab. So like, look, when you turn that in, I'm here. Boom, and then boom. And it comes on quick. You can't let go. And that's part of this, guys. And again, that's sort of still the beginner conversation is that we use the term stress test a lot. Is people are gonna try and let go and pull their arm back when you trap it like that. But if you have connection and the ability to follow, we do tons of drills in here and in all of our classes, where we are following the opponent, the attacker, our partner in class, okay? So let's see that wrist fold from you. Here, I'm folding this up, yes, right? Now go 2-on-1 with this though, right? Once you get it broke over and everything, and you get, everything, that was the appropriate moment to do that, right? So then step in and, nice. You see you're doing that to me? That'll result in a throw. You could add the leg technique into it. We saw this very similar with Osoto in some classes back. Same sort of idea on what we're doing with the hand. And guys, another thing, we're gonna see this in a couple of classes, this shape of lock here, Udigarami in Japanese, Americana, that's what it's commonly referred to as. okay? So this is sort of the wrist lock shape that we're doing a lot of times when we're doing that folding wrist lock. His shoulder will be in an Americana shape, okay? Now, the last one, go ahead and palm open here. This one, it kind of turns into a Kimura shape, right? So it's talking Kimura here, Americana here. So when you do this wrist fold, because I'm here, like, look, I'm already put my arm in Kimura shape for you, right? There, you collapse it, there, connect, step in, yeah. And see, look, you had me here. I just like broke over, and what I'm saying is you broke my balance. You had Kazushi through getting connection and maintaining your base. Okay, so those are two of the wrist techniques. And those, you know, Tewaza, right? They're techniques that we're using our hands, and that I'm also attacking your hands, right? We'll see that with arm locks, we'll see it with shoulder locks, wrist locks. Okay, so those are our basics for, you know, sort of essential self-defense techniques for today, and we'll be coming back with some escapes from the technical mount. Okay guys, technical mount, right? You're gonna see that also referred to as a modified mount. I've even heard some people call it side mount, which is very strange. But so a lot of the terms we get come from people that did not speak English as a first language, and they're like, how can I explain this in English to somebody? Oh, it's mount when he's on his side, right? So I get that, right? We call it technical mount. A lot of people, that's like, I would say, the most commonly used term. You'll see some people even refer to this as S mount. It's a little different than S mount in the shape, but the real thing to kind of understand is it's all high mount. Right? When somebody has me in technical mount, it's a higher mount. We saw some ways to start dealing with high mount when we're going over the back door mount escape last class. So kind of continuing that theme here. So let's talk about a couple of things. Our technique is dictated by what our opponent is going to be doing, right? So whatever Micah's doing or what I'm doing to Micah when we're going over this, that dictates the technique we're going to go over. I'm going to go over knee, elbow, and hip escape, right? Knee, elbow is a hip escape, but it's kind of a misnomer, right? Forward and backward hip escape is another way to think about it, right? So we'll see that, and then we're going to just see a really, really basic way to deal with this. So let's talk about the three main distributions of weight, and then sort of three main postures that we see when people have us in technical mount. And again, being able to recognize this is going to tell us right away what technique to do, okay? So Micah, lay here, please, with your head facing that way. Okay, so you're on your side. Here. Okay, so technical mount. So right now I have a low posture, right? And I don't have a hand under his elbow. Okay, so sometimes people are going to be doing that hand under the elbow. Here, I have a higher posture. And a lot of times people see this like, well, why would he do that? That's stupid. Well, here's the thing. The context is what matters. Like, okay, I had you in a middle mount. I'm up right here, and you go to bridge. Boom. Look how my posture, my chest is kind of up, right? Like I haven't got into the position where I'm going down because my posture was up when he started his bridge. Okay. Now think about that low and high posture, and then just an observation on that is they may have a hand here, okay? Now, distribution of weight. Right now, my weight's in the middle, right? Because I want to hold my weight in the middle and follow him, even with my chest down. I want to keep it in the middle. So people are going to do that, but when they go to attack, they're going to change, right? So people will lean a lot of their weight forward. Particularly when they do their chest down, they could be chasing a gift wrap or attacking, right? But when my knee starts to point forward, right, that is when it's telling him like, okay, I do this escape. If I'm starting to I have my weight more in the back right now, starting to think about maybe taking his back, something like that, right? Might even be setting up the choke. that's gonna tell him, okay, his weight's in the back. I can't do this one, I could do that one, right? And then two, if my posture is high, right? Or my weight is in the middle, that's gonna tell him what he can and can't do. So let's kind of go over the techniques in the context of those distributions of weight and postures. Let's start in regular mount. Okay. Now when I bridge, I want you to come up into technical mount. You sit up and see how your leg is folded right there? Right? That is gonna make it harder to take my back and to put me in mount. Right? But this is the simplest little escape. It's the sit-up escape. And it is when somebody's posture is up, their chest is up, it's not down and connected on you, and their weight is kind of in the middle, right? So again, when I go to bridge here, he does this. Look, there's nothing stopping me from just sitting up, right? Once I sit up, I just kind of framed across his hip and pushed him over. Okay, let's see that again. So again, I go to bridge. He goes to technical mount right there. When he does this and I sit up, look how I'm pushing and framing there. Okay, and again, I just gotta stop him from going to the back control or mount, right? Do one facing this way. Okay, so when I bridge, he comes to technical mount. Look, sit up right there. All right, and I'm looking to come up on top. I don't want to end up guard or anything like that. You can spin and go leg entanglement, but I'm looking to beat him up to the top position. Okay, so simple escape. You're not in mount anymore. The sit-up escape. All right, it's a transitional escape. It's as he is going to put me in technical mount. He doesn't really have a firmly rooted position. He hasn't really established a good connection or distribution of weight yet. That's the context of when and why it works. Now, let's look at knee elbow escapes, okay? With the knee elbow, two variations. We either use our top knee or our bottom knee, okay? The top knee is sometimes readily available and it's just there. It's the low-hanging fruit, so we go with that, okay? Sometimes the bottom knee is more available. I don't see that there's space to do the top knee. I could make space to do the top knee, but then it gets to get into like, well, I like this one more than the other. But we just need to understand this idea of a knee elbow escape from tech mount, okay? So get me in technical mount here. So what I'm doing here is I'm framing with this bottom arm, right? I'm defending here, and I feel this naturally how he got on me, right? And his weight is more in the middle / to the back, right? So the weight distribution we need to talk about for this escape is that I feel that he does not have a lot of weight in this foot, but I feel there's some more weight in your knee, right? Right? And they may be, like I said, going to wrap around, his chest is a little lower, whatever. But I'm framing here, defending my collar, and I already have the room for the top knee and the elbow, right? I'm gonna wedge my elbow, turn this way, into his crook of his knee here. Okay, once I do that, I'm gonna hip back a little bit, and that's my knee elbow. Okay, now here's the hip shovel portion. So I did a backward hip escape and a knee elbow. So I talk about hip escapes in key ways, right? I'm either going forward or backward. I've done both. I went backwards and I'm about to go forward. And when I go forward, I turn my hips. Okay? This will result in one of three things. He sits down like that and I come up on top. I taught this class yesterday, we did a leg entanglement in the all ranks class. Okay, that's a possibility. And the third one is like, they're really good, bigger than me, better than me, whatever. I got my guard at least, okay? But this top knee elbow, a backward hip escape and forward hip escape. So we're kind of combining the two key hip escape movements. And a lot of people call that shrimping, okay? So Let's see that again, get in the technical mount. Okay, so, and you're down, but weight's not heavy in this foot. So kind of get down here, yeah. So like, see that? See how your weight, I mean, yeah, you obviously have some weight in this foot, but your weight is mostly around my head, on my back shoulder here. Like, I feel there's more weight in this knee. So like, I'm wedging here, and then I'm hipping back a little bit. That's the knee elbow, okay? Once we knee elbow, look at this inverted, it's like my foot normally is like this on the mat, right? I raise that heel, I invert that foot to the mat, and then I forward, boom, right? This is framing, and this is where, again, you may have a really game opponent that starts coming up. I may want to start swinging into my heel hook, okay? Just a real base, if I can keep it on a hip, broke down to a hip, I can finish this outside heel hook, okay? So, let's look at that again. Outside knee, knee elbow, wedge here, right? Once I wedge, I'm backward hip escaping and coming in, and then forward, right? I'm trying to always beat him up into double underguard pass or a single under, okay? Just sort of your standard preferred low pass, right? So again, backward hip escape first. Get your knee and elbow together. Then forward hip escape. Now a lot of times I make him sit down and go to the mat, okay? Now the variation of that is the bottom knee elbow, okay? So this is the same sort of distribution of weight, okay? So go ahead and put me in technical mount. Here, right? And this is good because I feel you have a little weight here. I would consider doing the other one, but I still too just feel that more weight is back, right? Usually, I'll tell you, the main thing that tells me to do the other escape is I feel this knee pointing. See that how that's different? Okay, now again, I do feel that this is heavy. See, that's the one we're gonna get into in a minute. But here, I feel more weight in your back knee than I do in this foot. And I just like, it's hard to quantify like, hey, I feel that this is your distribution of weight is this way. Because here's the thing, even a trained eye will have a hard time seeing that, right? It's like, you just, where's his weight at? You know, it looks like it's in the middle, sort of, but I'm telling you right now, he has more weight on his back knee than he has on his front heel. Okay, so now I'm gonna anchor in place here. This hand's protecting my collar, my face, whatever. I'm framing on his pant, locking in here, connecting. And then I'm backwards hip escaping like this, okay? Once I do that, I'm going bottom knee in, okay? Now, what I wanna do is, it's not a pull the ankle type situation. I am extending my legs straight. And I come up into guard pass number 1, the windshield wiper pass, okay? So once I'm here, I'll be sure I have good connection on his hips, start moving to cross side, all right? Let's see that again. So look, frame here, backward hip escape, and I've made space here for this bottom shin to come in, okay? Turn this way. I don't have to dive under his leg or anything fancy. My elbow being here on the mat is good. When I sit forward, it encases his hip as I come up, right? So this hip being encased, try to hip out this way. Hit the other way if you can. It's very hard. Can't really move your hips because I'm monitoring it, right? And then from there, I will complete the sequence and pass, okay? So that is sort of a sweep, but you're doing it rapidly, right? So that's sort of the ankle pull sweep, you could call it. It's really similar to in modern sort of jiu-jitsu sport, the deep half guard waiter sweep, right? Like when I teach this a lot, I taught it this week, and a couple of the higher ranks are like, oh, this is like that. And I'm like, that is true, right? So cool mount escape, 2 knee elbow perspectives. You gotta bring your knee to your elbow on those. And then I'm kind of sitting up to escape on both those, right? You just kind of lose your base and I come on top. And you're not in mount anymore. Okay, so that is kind of backward hip escape. Knee, elbow, switching hips, forward hips, all of that movement sort of combined. Now, let's look at the other weight distribution where the knee is pointed forward. Okay, so from here, yes, I see immediately, I was like, oh yes, this like it tells me what to do, right? And what I'm gonna do is, I want to keep this elbow running from like where his knee to his hip, like that sort of alignment, right? It's on that horizontal plane. I'm sliding my elbow into that and I'm pushing back. Not crazy hard, right? Go ahead and come back forward. Now, when I feel this heavier foot here and I feel this point, I want to keep that there as I pull myself here. Okay, so I've got to push back a little bit with my elbow as I come forward with my hip. Okay, so you see that I reach out here and that's my hip zone. And then I get ready to pass. Okay, and turn here. When we do this, we come up into a double under pass. Okay, now, once you're ready to pass, we need to come up into like an all fours, right? Here. Okay, now, I look up to pass. Boom. Right, and then I've got a good side control. I could start doing paper cutter chokes, right? So, what we don't want to do is chase this too soon. He can already start defending. Put your hand under my arm, higher. Yes, now push me there. Yes. Not perfect, but I don't want that at all. So watch. I'll grab and I'll pull that lapel in, and I'm here and I look up and I focus on my chest, staying connected to your hamstring. So try and stop me. Before you ever chase a choke like this, it's not really what we're doing today, but he's gonna do this just instinctively. I'm going up before I ever go down for the choke. It's something I hardly ever see anybody go over, right? But I had to wear that from one of the best, and it probably wasn't, you know, so. Anyway, that is the hip shovel, the reverse hip escape, the forward hip escape. It goes by several names. Let's look at it again. Here, his weight is more forward in his foot and his knee is facing towards my head, right? When this is the case, and get ready to pass, looking up. Okay, so that is the hip shovel, the forward hip escape, okay? And again, you know, if you think on the last two techniques we just showed, you did a backwards move with your hips first. So if I'm on the side, I'm gonna go forward, I'm gonna go backward, all right? Doesn't mean I don't go backwards first and then pull myself forward. You can totally do that, right? So just some perspectives to consider. Also, remember that other perspective that people's chest is not always down. They might not have acquired a good pin yet, right? Sometimes people are just stepping over into technical mount from like you already being on your side in a side control or something like that. So everything has a context. So just keep some of that in mind. Now, one thing also that we need to consider is sometimes we mention this, people have an arm under our arm, right? Because maybe they have a seatbelt grip, maybe they're going for our standard sliding lapel choke. So what do we do when that's the case, right? And they kind of might even, when that's going on, they might even have their weight in the middle. And it just goes back to like the 3 mount escapes that we know. We kind of pretty much do either a forward backward hip escape or an UPA, a bridge. So give me a tech mat again. Okay, now get an arm under my arm. Yes, like this, okay? So, and kind of slide your back knee up a little bit and then just kind of lightly press it against me. Yeah, good. And here, so, yes, nice. And a little less pinch so you can follow. Yeah, so I'm gonna hit back and just follow me. Follow. I hit forward, you follow me, you follow me. Okay, so he's doing a good job and he's got my arm isolated. Okay, so one thing I need to do is slip this elbow. Sometimes you can do this by that. Sometimes that's not gonna be possible, right? So when this is the case, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bridge, right? It could come back. Sorry, hopefully you didn't wrist lock yourself, right? But when I bridge here, boom. Now I'm going back into like, oh, I'm just gonna get my back on the mat, forward, sort of square my hips back up and start escaping, sitting up, preventing your mount, leg entanglement, getting my guard. Those things that we do every time we do a hip escape, okay? So that's just using the UPA. Sometimes you gotta do that just to get everything inside, right? So that's kind of an in combination type of an idea. And then two guys, if it's not the UPA, then you just need to use this simple strategy. If somebody's doing a really good job holding you down, follow, bridge, that always works for me. One of my coaches is a really good technical mount, Mike Page, love the guy, and this works. As a matter of fact, he's told me like this, like that I have nothing if you do this. Right. So somebody's doing a really good job. Bridge, disrupt their base, then you go back to your normal order of operations, or just be moving your hips forward, backward, forward, backward, backward, forward, in a pattern that they can't predict and rapidly discern. Oh, you know, and then you're just, oh, okay, I got my elbow in that time, right? Or oh, I got their weight in their knee that time, right? So somebody's weight's in the middle. Think about just the normal hip movements like we do in the warm up to offset them, to break their balance, to, oh, okay, I got your weight over too much this way, and that's what I want. Sometimes they're attacking and they give it to you. It's not always the case. Okay, so those are our sort of technical mount escape fundamentals. High mount escape is also that same category as we mentioned. Okay, so real basic stuff, but I think it's extremely beneficial. Okay. That'll be all we're getting into on escapes from mount for the rest of the program, okay? And we'll come back and round out, just have one more thing to show with some of our, adding on to some of our armbar defenses, preparing always to protect our arms. And because here's the thing too, guys, a lot of times it's not your elbow. A lot of times it's your bicep tie-in right here with your shoulder, right? And everybody kind of, I think assumes it's the elbow, and yeah, sometimes it is. But we're gonna get into kind of some later phase discussion defense to the armbar today with what's commonly referred to as a hitchhiker escape. So we'll be back for that in just a sec. Okay guys, we're gonna be going over the fundamentals of escaping the armbar, right? Think about this in perspective of they put you in an armbar from mount, technical mount, swung the leg over. This could also be after perhaps somebody knocked you over, they were doing armbar from guard and you fell over, right? And you were just in the sort of standard Japanese term jujigatami, the cross armbar, so like both legs are across the body, okay? So we teach 4 escapes from that. They put me in the arm lock here.
Both of them across the body?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, so guys, the first one is, and he's already, we talked about this one last time. He's already making one of the mistakes of he has both arms here, okay? Now, because he has both arms here, it'd be a little more difficult to do the other one I'm gonna show today, right? But yes, there you go. But go ahead and put both arms back. If he has both arms back, we pendulum and we put him on his back and we just come up. Like, it's that simple, okay? So if he has a hand on the mat, I automatically feel that that's not gonna be an option. So another escape or defense within this same wheelhouse is the idea of getting my elbow that he's attacking to the mat. I use the pendulum motion in the same manner to do so, right? So here, I whip that down to the floor, all right? So turn this way. All right, so guys, when he's here, right? If he has both arms on, right, put both arms on, and I want to pendulum to start coming up to stack. Once I'm stacking, I'm trying to ratchet that arm out and pass. Okay, but this arm here, if he has one on the floor and I feel it, what I want to do is, as this arm bar is trying to make it materialize, I'm going to pendulum and I'm going to slip my elbow to the floor. Right, I'm in a strong base here where my knee's facing here, and that's driving my elbow to the mat. Right, just grab my sleeve here and try and pull it up. It's stuck to the floor. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm pointing this knee, not up, inward. Right, and I'm driving this knee down, but I'm also driving this elbow to the floor. So when I did the pendulum here, this leg is making connection and alignment between my whole body, getting this elbow stuck to the floor so you can't just pull it back up for the arm lock. Okay, so that's the kind of ideas behind the pendulum escape. It's two parts, right? I want to just be able to get my elbow to the mat, right? But if I notice he's making a mistake, he's got both hands on that, it's a little harder to get your elbow to the mat, we can stack him. We can just come up, okay? So understand that. Now, he's got me back in the arm lock. The other sort of earlier phase escape we talked about is just getting here, okay? Come back. So I'm cupping my hand over my head like this, but under his leg. Doing this before you they ever get the leg over the head is best practice, right? Now from here, I scoop it off, right? And I'm bridging and threading the needle to posture and pass the guard, okay? So that's our bicep defense. You can also do this, instead of grabbing your bicep, the lapel, but you don't always have a gi. If I was wearing a t-shirt and having to, you could have an armbar, right? I wouldn't want to grab my t-shirt or my rash guard. It's not super strong, right? My bicep though will work in all occasions. So the last one though that we need to talk about, go ahead and put me back in the armbar, is a reversal. This is going to be when he is actually, as he's got into the armbar or whatever, he has my arm. Okay, so it's straight. I don't have the virtue of being able to grab my bicep or my lapel or something like that. Okay, now when he is going back, start pulling it back, I've got to go to the side, right? So I'm taking my thumb and turning it towards my ear. Okay, now I'm running onto my side, and I want to keep my head connected here as I come up, so he doesn't retain his guard. Okay, see that again on this side. So guys, look at my thumb here. It's called the hitchhiker escape. We called it, the academy I came out of always called it a barrel roll. So my coaches call it that, and I've called it that, right? Because that's kind of the motion you're doing with your body. And the hitchhiker idea is the motion I'm doing with my thumb. Okay, so I want to take my thumb to my ear. So imagine if I was standing up, it'd look like I was hitchhiking, right? There is a technique called reverse hitchhiker where I go thumb down, right? Like Roman gladiator games. So here, when he is bending my arm back before it reaches hyperextension, I need to turn it, start running and scissoring my legs. I go belly down. Keep your head connected here. You can come around to a nice cradle or rear side mount position. Okay, so let's recap. Somebody's putting you in an armbar. They got both legs across the body. If you can preempt that with this, that's such a best practice, okay? If you can't and they get the leg over your head, you can always go to that. But ask yourself something small. Do they have both hands on my arm they're trying to armbar? If they do, which a lot of people will, you stack them. If they don't, which a lot of people won't, you get your elbow to the mat. If you can't do that, you go interplay into the bicep defense. Or let's say you can't do that and they get your arm straight. You get the hitchhiker, okay? So late phase submission defense is a thing. And we don't want to have to rely on it, but we have to train it. We have to observe it. Like you can't just, oh, my arm went straight and it's over. It's not. There's actually several ways to get out when your arm's straight, okay? So, and nuances on just like, a couple of main ways. But that hitchhiker is such a big idea, okay? So that's the sort of 4 main armbar defenses we teach everyone, right? Now, we saw that when we stack, that kind of comes up that perspective of guard. We mentioned in the beginning, it might knock you down from guard. So there's that, right? But couple of new techniques there that we did not go over last class. Next class, class 30, we're getting into gift wrap and technical mount attacks. We'll see some arm bars, we'll see some ways to hold mount, a couple of new chokes with the gi. And our next couple of classes will be addressing the mount from top perspective, okay? So really some cool techniques I'm excited about getting into. We'll do a review shortly also over all of our sort of standing wrist, arm, and shoulder attacks. All right, so good work. Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.